Just 2 minutes, huh?
Jai Jinendra.
Yeah, Jai Jinendra. Yes. Namo Arihantanam. Namo Sittanam. Namo Ayariyanam. Namo Uvajjayanam. Namo Loye Sauvasahum. Mangalam Bhagavan Viro. Mangalam Gautamo Gani. Mangalam Kunda Kundadyo. Jaina Dharmostu Mangalam. Sarva Mangala Mangalyam. Sarva Kalyanakarakam. Pradhanam Sarva Dharmanam. Jainam Jaitu Shashanam. Jainam Jaitu Shashanam. Jainam Jaitu Shashanam. So we will be continuing with our chapter on 12 woes of a householder. We would call it as a 12 woes of an enlightened householder. So yesterday we were there we just completed partial abstinence from violence. Now the next is partial observance of truth, or it can also be called as truthfulness limited woe. Satya Anuvrat. This is the second. First one was Ahimsa, and this is Satya Anuvrat. Partial observance of truth. To tell lies with recklessness. Recklessness is pramad, and good word for pramad would be carelessness. Yeah, carelessness is pramad, and here also recklessness. Recklessness is also pramad. To tell lies with recklessness is untruth. Partial abstinence from telling lies is partial observance of truth. So you renounce partially the sin and you observe partial observation of truth. So this untruth is of 4 kinds. Perversion of truth. The first one is perversion of truth. Sat ka aplap. Saying that things in existence do not exist. So there is something already in existence and you say that it does not exist. So this is perversion of truth. Okay. Supposing you are having a say compass box, and one of your friends comes and asks for the compass box, and you say that you don't have it. So this is something you already have it, but you are lying that you don't have it. So this is perversion of truth. The second one is propounding untruth. Asat ka udbhavan. Saying that things that have no existence do exist is propounding untruth. So this is the opposite of perversion of truth, and this is called propounding untruth. Asat ka udbhavan. So the one which has no existence, which is existing, but if somebody asks you, you said you don't have it or it does not exist. So this is propounding untruth. The third one is telling otherwise. Anyatha prarupan. Okay. Describing things as against their intrinsic nature. To say that there is merit in violence. So how can there be merit in violence? So it is again a kind of lie only. So describing things as against their intrinsic nature. Intrinsic nature means their real nature. To say that there is merit in violence. So merit is again auspicious karma, and so when you are doing violence, you bound inauspicious karma and not auspicious karma. But here it is written, there is merit in violence. So that is a statement which is not correct. So this is called describing things as against, this is known as telling otherwise. Anyatha prarupan, telling otherwise. And the fourth one is garhit vachan, harsh and cruel speech. To utter scandalous, contentious, painful words and words opposed to the scriptures and those leading to violence and conflicts is the use of harsh and cruel speech. So the last one is about harsh and cruel speech. So uttering this kind of words which are not according to the scriptures, which are opposite of what is written in the scripture, and those leading to violence and conflict is the use of harsh speech. The next in the sequence is partial abstinence from stealing. To take anything that entails giving and taking in the worldly sense without the permission of its master through recklessness is stealing. So even if that thing belongs to you and you have given it to someone for use, so when you go and take that thing back, you should tell the borrower that I'm taking this back. So if you are not telling him and just bringing it here, then it amounts to stealing. It's a type of stealing. So without the permission of his master, through recklessness, again pramad, is to abjure stealing is abstinence. To abjure means tyag, renounce. To renounce stealing is abstinence. Though a renouncer of theft, the householder draws water from a tank or a river. Though a householder is a renouncer of theft, but still he draws water from a tank or a river and earth from mines without any asking. So this is only permissible for a householder. If a monk is there, then they are not going to take anything just like water or anything from mines. So monk doesn't do it, but a householder does these things. And if he is doing that without any asking, he is a partial observer of non-stealing. So these are the permissible theft, drawing water from a tank or a river and earth from mines. So drawing water from a tank or a river and earth and from mines without any asking. So this is a partial observer of non-stealing, or it is also called acharya anuvrat, non-stealing limited vow. The fourth in the sequence is partial abstinence from indulging in sex. But a good word would be chastity limited vow, brahmacharya anuvrat. Complete abstinence from sex is celibacy. A householder unable to observe complete celibacy remains satisfied with his own wife. So, to remain satisfied with his own wife is again a kind of woe, and altogether renounces indulgence in other women. These observance being partial is called partial abstinence from indulging in sex. So this was about chastity limited vow, brahmacharya anuvrat. And last is limitation of worldly possession, parigrah pariman vrat, non-possession limited vow. So accumulativeness is a desire for possession of non-self entities. Accumulativeness is a desire for possession of non-self entities. It is of two kinds, external and internal. ओके, अपने से भिन्न पर पदार्थों में ममत्व बुद्धि ही परिग्रह है. So accumulativeness is a desire for the possession of non-self entities. It is of two kinds, external and internal. Internal accumulativeness comprises of 14 stickings like wrong faith, anger, pride, deceit, greed, and 9 mild passions. So what are these 9 mild passions? Laughter, pleasure in sensory activity. So this is hasya, rati. Displeasure in sensory activities, arati. Then sorrow, dukh. Fear, bhai. Disgust, hasya, rati, arati, dukh, bhai, jugupsa. Okay, disgust is jugupsa. And then you have 3 types of sexual cravings: Strived, Purushved, and Napunsak Ved. So all these put together are, and these are called quasi-passions. Okay, so then external possessions. What are the external possessions? Hmm. External possessions are land, house, gold, silver, grain, wealth, servants, and utensils. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 are given here, but I will naming all the 10s. Accumulation of external possessions like money, food grains, land, farms, houses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Animals, birds, 8. Then servants, maids, furniture, vehicles, clothes, utensils, jewelry, etc. is known as external possessions. Out of the above, the householder renounces the wrong faith altogether. He renounces other partially because he has tints of passions left in him. He imposes a limit to all external possessions. This is called limitation of worldly possession. Parigraha Pariman Vrat. So he imposes a limit to all external possession. So this is called Parigraha Pariman Vrat. Next 3 are observation to safeguard the 5 conduct rules. Another good word would be pre-merit was Gunvrat. Okay. Direct abstinence, regional abstinence, and abstinence from unnecessary demerits are observance to safeguard the 5 conduct rules. So you already taken a vow, and to maintain that vow, you would observe these 3 gunvrat. These 3 are called gunvrat, or the 3 merit vows. The first one is direction abstinence, or it is also called the vows of limited area of activity in all directions. So there are in total 10 directions: north, south, east, west. Then the diagonally one, northeast, southwest, southeast, then northwest. So these are the diagonal one. So 4 plus 4 is 8. Then one is on the above us, which is the ceiling, or this is also one direction towards the space. And the last one is just below the place where you are standing. So there are 10 directions. The householder having softness of passions. Softness of passion means mand kashai. The householder having softness of passion imposes limitations on his movement in all the 10 directions on the basis of famous places. This is direction abstinence. So now supposing you take a vow that you will not go beyond, say, Daisar. Like in Bombay, Daisar is the last station in the western suburb, and we have Thane in the central suburb, and in the harbor line, I think Vashi. So you have to impose his limitation on his movement in all the 10 directions on the basis of famous places. So now Vashi railway station is very famous. So you can say, I will not go beyond Vashi railway station. Similarly, you can take vow that you will not go beyond this height. Supposing if you are traveling by air, generally you know what height the plane operates, and so if it operates at 10,000 kilometers, you can take vows from, say, maybe 15,000, 20,000. It's good to be on the safer side so that you don't break those vows. Okay, whatever you commit, you have to make sure that you honor it. So this is called direction abstinence, wherein you are taking 10 directions and you are limiting yourself that you will not go beyond these places. Then the next is regional abstinence, the vow of limited duration of activity. That was Digvrat, this is Deshvrat. The broad limitation of direction abstinence. So already you have taken direction abstinence, are further minimized to movements during particular hours, days, weeks, and months. This is regional abstinence. So you already got a vows for direction, and now you are taking a vow for the duration. Maybe you can take vows that you will not move around for another 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours, 1 day, 1 week, 4 weeks, 1 month, something like that. So you already have a limitation on direction, and now you are taking vows for regional abstinence. So here it is further minimized to movements during particular hours, days, weeks, and months. The third one in the Gunvrat is abstinence from unnecessary demerits, avoidance of unnecessary sins, anarth dand tyag vrat. This is a very interesting one, and we can see in our life we are doing a lot of this. Purposeless indulgence and inclinations towards violence and other demerits is indulgence in unnecessary demerits. So there is if there is a match going on, you have nothing to do with it. but still people keep on discussing about those matches, maybe prior to the match also, and after the match is over also. So these are unnecessary wastage of time. You can put that time to good use, something very important, something very meaningful. So purposeless indulgence and inclination. So purposeless, he has no purpose, just passing time. Purposeless indulgence and inclination towards violence and other demerits is indulgence in unnecessary demerits. The householder observing these rules of conduct does not, without any purpose, dig earth, throw water, burn fire, move air, and crush vegetables. So these are of 5 kinds. And one minute. Purposeless indulgence or inclination towards violence. बिना प्रयोजन हिंसा आदि पापों में प्रवृत्ति करना. ओके, बिना प्रयोजन, purposeless indulgence. An inclination towards violence and other demerits is indulgence in unnecessary demerits. The householder observing these rules of conduct does not, without any purpose, dig earth. Okay. Then the second is pani dolna, throw water. Then third one is burn fire. Then move air. Then crush vegetables. These are some of the examples given. But apart from that, if we, these books were written, say, 40 years ago. So at that point of time, what were the prevailing habits of people that are only taken here? But today's time, what will you consider? Unnecessary passing time on WhatsApp, Facebook, and what is Instagram and all. So these are all unnecessary indulgence. And then there are many, like engaging in internet, or the engaging in all these games that have come up, Dream 11 and these 11. So all those activities are unnecessary for us. And if we indulge in those kind of things, it is called unnecessary loss of life. He abstains from violence of moving creatures and renounces purposeless violence of stationary being also. He does not take interest in activities such as attachments and aversions and keeps away from them. This is called abstinence from unnecessary merits. So the time is very precious, and if you indulge in those activities which are not useful to you, then it is a kind of violence only. Okay. And if you take a vow to avoid or renounce this unnecessary demerits. So this is also very important one. And now we move onto the training observances. Okay. So householder is now planning to get initiated into monkhood, and for that he is undergoing training, by remaining in house only. He undergoes this training, and he is very confident about it. Then only he takes uh, then he takes monkhood. Then he takes to monkhood. So there are four of these. The first one is meditation or equanimity. The second one is fasting or practice of living like an ascetic. Prosodupvas Siksha Vrat. Then the third is limitation of objects of sensual pleasures. Bhog, upubhog. Bhog is one-time consumption. Upubhog is multi-time, multi-use consumption, like a mobile phone. A mobile phone is a multiple use consumption. And if you are eating a laddu, then it is a one-time consumption. So limitation of objects of sensual pleasures. Even within the limitations already imposed on possession of worldly objects, to decrease the sensual involvement is the limitation of objects of sensual pleasures. The subjects of the five senses are of two kinds: those that are enjoyed once only, that is bhog, and those that are enjoyed a number of times, upabhog. So you set up a limit for bhog and bhog. Then the fourth and the last one is service of ascetics. Atithi Samvibhag Vrat, service of the saintly beings. To offer a share of one's meals to monks and householders and to feed them. So now these householders are all enlightened householders. So to offer a share of one's meals to monks and householders and to feed them with proper prescribed process is the service of the saintly beings. The householder with real right faith, observing the 12 rules of conduct without any fault, okay, follows those rules of conduct, because without real right faith and consciousness, these rules cannot be really observed. With internal real faith and right consciousness, and in the absence of passions, which lead to infinite births, passions which hinder partial abstinence, and passions which disturb complete abstinence. So we discussed about the quadruplet. So there are 4 levels of passions. So the first one, so these rules cannot be really observed with internal real faith and right consciousness, and in the absence of passions, which lead to infinite births, passions which hinder partial abstinence, and passions which disturb complete abstinence, The emergent purity of the soul naturally creates cravings for these rules of conduct in the householder. The meritorious feelings of the rules of conduct without the consciousness of the soul is not the real observance of the rules of conduct, and such kind of householder always opts for Sallekna, and after the death he takes birth in the 16th Swarg. Okay, usually householder doesn't go to the 16th Swarg, but this kind of enlightened householders who has already destroyed the 2 levels of passions to quadruplet level of passions. This kind of householder, after finishing the life here, takes birth in the 16th Swarg, solar 16th Swarg, that is, takes birth as a celestial being, and after that he takes birth. So after that celestial being, he takes a birth in the human life and initiates into monkhood and becomes a monk, and then practicing deep introspective meditation, he achieves liberation. Okay, so this is the benefit of taking these vows. So those people who are sincerely observing these 12 vows, they take birth in the 16th Swarg, 16th heaven, and after finishing this life of as a celestial being, they take birth in the human life, and they again gets initiated into a monkhood, and then by observing deep introspective meditation, ultimately attains liberation. So he has destroyed all types of karmas: dravya karma, bhav karma, no karma, ghati karma, aghati karma, all types of karmas. Okay. So I wanted to ask, I wanted to ask one question. Yesterday, somebody had asked for, it was about violence. So it is in this book, Pursharth Siddh Upay, Gatha verse number 48. So, non-abstinence from hinsa, that is violence, non-abstinence from hinsa, violence, and indulgence in hinsa, both comprise hinsa. So, in Hindi, it is like that. Hinsa se virakt na hone se. Okay? That means non-abstinence from hinsa. हिंसा से विरक्त न होने से हिंसा होती है, और हिंसा रूप परिणमन करने से भी हिंसा होती है. इसलिए प्रमाद के योग से, when there is careless activity of mind, body, or speech, injury to the vitalities is inevitable. Pranghat, because of this pramad, which is called the careless activity of mind, body, and speech, injury to the vitalities is pranghat. So injury to the vitalities is inevitable. When there is careless activity of mind, body, or speech, injury to the vitalities is inevitable. So this was what we wanted to discuss yesterday. The exact word used in Hindi is Aviraman Rup Hinsa and Parinaman Rup Hinsa. Now, supposing if you are eating, if you are consuming, say, 5 vegetables on an average daily, okay? So, if you take a bowl, say maybe 10, not more than 10 vegetables. So, you are saved for the rest of the vegetables. Even if you are not eating, but still, if you are not renouncing it, then you are indulging in violence. Okay? So, you need to take this vows that you will have this much of clothes and this much of foods, this much of varieties of foods, this much of fruits, this much of vegetables. So you have to set limitations everywhere. And once you have set the limits, then apart from that, other violence that is happening, you are not binding any karma on that. If you have taken a vow. And if you have not taken a vow, then you are binding those karmas, even if you are not physically harming anyone. Okay? But since you have not taken the vows in the first place, you are binding those karmas.
Sir, I have a small question regarding this.
Yeah.
Say, for example, I'm not taking any vow. Keeping in consideration, the same example of the vegetables. Say, for
Yeah.
example, I'm not keeping any vow, and I'm not, I'm not eating certain vegetables, or I'm abstaining from certain vegetables. My question is, say, for example, even if from inside, from my inner self, I'm having that control, or I don't want to have that particular kind of food. So in that instant also, will I be accumulating karmas, or how does that work?
So the first thing that you have to remember here is that these are the woes of a enlightened householder who has got rid of two levels of quadruplet of passions. Okay, so this is not for anybody, common people also. Okay, so this is only applicable to enlightened soul. So if you are not an enlightened soul, then even if you take the vows or if you don't take the vows, it hardly matters. But as per Charnan Yoga, this kind of advice is always given. Even if you are not a enlightened householder, still you are an ordinary householder, still you can take these kind of vows. And but this is just a kind of activity for people to get involved in religion.
How will you know, sir? How will you know that you are enlightened? Like, what
So
what are the
this is the belief, and belief is yours. Now, how do you, now if you are giving, supposing an exam, and you yourself is confident that you have done all the questions correctly. Then if somebody asks you how you have done the paper, then what you say? You don't have to go anywhere to ask anybody. It is your own experience that tells you. Similarly, if you are enlightened, you will definitely know yourself that you have got the right faith. For this, Dr. Saab gives a very good example that if a woman is pregnant, she does not have to ask anybody whether she's pregnant or not. She knows it. Similarly, a person who attends right belief, he himself knows about it, and he doesn't have to ask anybody about it.
Got it.
So, so there are aviraman rup hinsa. Even if you are not indulging in any injury, but you have not taken the vows in the first place, then you are bounding those karmas. Similarly, there is a parinaman hinsa where you are actually involved in mind, speech, and bodily activity, and you are actually doing physical violence. So this is again a hinsa only. So this was all about the Purusharth Siddhi Upay. Yesterday, what we had, there was a question about that. There are some very good, I would say, not exactly characteristics of ahimsa. These are all very good things, but we will be doing this in Purusharth Siddhi Upay anyways. So at that point of time, we will study that. Now it will be a bit loadful for you. So I'm not going to into so much of details. If there is any questions, you can ask. We still have 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, Jai Jinendra to everyone. I have a question regarding point number 5 in the lecture, which is to do with limitation of worldly possessions. In short, parigra, I think is the word. So when we talk about parigra and we say that we have certain things that we have bought, for example, I'll use a car as an example. So you have the car, or you might have two cars actually. You only need one, but you've got two. But then in your mind, you're not attached to the cars. Does that still mean that you have got the parigra or you have released it?
You are released it because your intent is not to accumulate cars or something like that. And you want to renounce the possession, whatever you have of wealth that you have. And so you are now not able to completely leave those possessions. So you are observing a partial renunciation of parigra. Okay. So one is the physical material that is called a parigra, and the other one is the liking of the liking mamatva buddhi we call it, no? So that is also a parigra. In fact, the true parigra is this one, the mamatva buddhi. So the physical things are not actually parigra in the sense that the liking for it or the craving for it is the parigra.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? So one thing is certain, okay, you may find somebody who have yet not destroyed the 2 levels of quadruplet of passions and still observing wars. You can always see that. But it cannot happen that your 2 levels of passions has gone off and still you are not having any kind of wars. So that is not possible. Okay. So it is always like that, that when you have destroyed the 2 levels of passions, at the same time, the whatever the auspicious sentiment you are having, those auspicious sentiment, with that auspicious sentiment, you will be observing this 12 woes. So it all goes hand in hand. Here the purity increases, the level of passions goes off, and here you get involved into 12 woes. So in the 4th stage of spiritual development, there are no woes. Okay. But in the 5th stage of spiritual development, there is partial abstinence of sins and you are taking partial woes. And in the 6th and 7th stage of spiritual development, you actually become a monk. So it all depends on the purity. If you go on increasing the purity, your spiritual stages of development also goes up. And if you are increasing the impurity, then your spiritual stage also falls down. So it is both ways.
Sir, is that called Bara Gunstanak?
No, this is
No?
Bala Vrat.
Bara Vrat, okay. No, you're saying 5th and 6th.
Yes, yeah, that is Gunastham.
Okay, thank you.
So that is called spiritual stage of development. And there are 14 Gunasthans. So this will be, we'll be learning an introductory chapter on this in the next semester. And then in the 6th semester, we will have a complete full paper on Gunasthan in the 6th semester. Okay. So any more questions? Still 4 minutes we have. So I was planning for your oral assignments. Maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I'll be putting those questions in the group, and you have to individually answer me on WhatsApp through voice message. Okay, so that is how we are going to do our Gandhan Mulyankan and the Viva. So I'm framing questions, and maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I will release in the group and you will be given 21 days to complete those questions. And by meantime, we will be completing this Vitra Vigyan 3 also, maybe end of this month or the first week of next month. So we will have the full 3 weeks in the month of June, and then we can have 1 more week in the July. So four extra class we'll be having. So I have shared you the Namokar Mantra books now in English. So you can just go through those 10 chapters in Namokar Mantra, and then we will be doing first Shakahar. So the English version is not there. So we'll first discuss the Shakahar, and then I'll give 1 chapters to each of you to study and make a summary of all those 10 chapters are there, 10 or 11 chapters are there. And I think we are now 13 students, 12, 13 students. So the balance 2 students I will give from Vitrag Vigyan only. So we all have to do a summary of at least 1 chapter. And since this will be done in the class, so all other will also listen. And it will be shared among all. So this was about Gandhar Mulyankan, and then I will be asking 3 common questions, that is Viva. That also I will give you in a day or 2. So you will have enough time to complete it, and then move on to CC3.
So one small question. Sir, in this oral exam, can we answer a little bit in Hindi? Is it okay? If we want to,
everything is okay. Everything is okay. And this is just oral assignments, but the main exam will be the objective.
Like a few words, if we know in Hindi better than the English.
So you can opt for English paper also and Hindi paper also. So you will be given only 1 paper only, either Hindi or English. So
no, we can answer a few words just in Hindi. That's okay.
That you can write mix also, and it's all okay.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem. Anything else? Okay, so we are closing for the day. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है। 9 बार नौकार मंत्र गिनेंगे। जय जिनेंद्र।